All right, we are talking about underbillings today, and this is a big topic in the construction industry and one that I don't know, I just could talk about it a lot because I don't think everyone really understands the full impact that it can have, as well as maybe understanding where the number's coming from. So let's kind of start with that and say, okay, how do we even get to this underbilling number in the first place? Because that number can end up being calculated incorrectly. So we're typically getting this number from a WIP report that's going to look at the contract value of the project plus any change orders. So that's going to give you the approved new total of the contract value. And then any costs to complete the project, we're going to get a calculation on where we are to date with the cost compared to the total cost to complete, and take that percentage of completion and times it by the total contract value to get where we should be at for billings. If our billings are under that calculated amount, that is our underbilling number. So there's a lot of other factors that could make that underbilling number incorrect. So if you don't have the correct contract value, if you are adding change orders in there that aren't really approved change orders yet, or if you are adding change orders but you haven't adjusted the estimated cost for those change orders, if your estimated cost to complete are wrong, that could have an impact. So first, we want to make sure that our contract value as of this date is accurate, and we want to make sure that our costs to complete are accurate as well, and that's going to give us this underbilling or overbilling amount. So once we have this underbilling amount, once we know those numbers are correct, we know our underbilling amount is correct. And the underbilling is going to have a huge impact on your company. So what takes place when you have an underbilling amount is that you're going to have an increase to revenue to account for revenue that you have earned, even though you haven't billed for it yet. And then you're going to show an asset on your books for this underbilling amount. It may make your financials look profitable. So if after you make your underbilling, overbilling adjustments, it could be that it looks like your company's doing really well and your profit is looking good, but your cash sucks and you're like, what the hell has happened to my cash? My income statement's saying I'm making money, but yet I'm struggling every week to pay my bills. And potentially it could be because you're sitting on this underbilling amount. Already in the construction industry, for many of you, we are waiting 60 plus days for payments. And now if you're not getting your billings out on time and you're constantly underbilled, that number is just increasing. So now you may be waiting 90 days or 120 days to get that cash coming in. But you're still having to pay your suppliers and you're still having to pay your labor. And then you're also pissing off your subs because you're telling them you haven't been paid yet for their work, but really you haven't even billed for it. So that underbilling amount is not only going to help increase your cash in the business, it's also going to improve your relationships with your subs. We talked about surety yesterday and improving the relationship with your surety and showing that you're not consistently underbilled. And then if you have a line of credit with a bank and you're using the line of credit actively and you're having to provide a borrowing base, a report that shows what you are capable of borrowing, they take into account your accounts receivable. So they're not looking at your profit and loss statement, your income statement. They're not seeing those numbers and taking that into account. They're looking at your accounts receivable. If you aren't billing and you have that underbilled amount that went to your balance sheet, it's not going to AR because you haven't billed it yet. So something that we have seen are clients that we had a client that we were helping get their AR under control, clean it up, make phone calls and call on people, and we got their AR to a really good spot, and they were collecting a little bit faster. We had it all cleaned up, but then they weren't billing fast enough to get the additional AR built up. So when we went to submit the borrowing base, because they were so far underbilled, we didn't have enough in AR, and the bank wanted them to make a payment back on their line of credit. So that could also be impacted when you aren't getting those billings out the door. If they can't calculate that into your borrowing base. So if you're using your line of credit, that's something you really want to be watching and monitoring to make sure that you are meeting those bank covenants and requirements on that borrowing base. When you are reviewing those underbillings as well, it could mean a few things. So we talked about the numbers on the WIP that are calculating the underbilling in the first place. You want to make sure that those are accurate. You want to look at, are there any costs hitting the job that aren't being installed yet, or they haven't been received? So maybe we had a shipment ordered, maybe there's a big piece of material that has come in, but it's being stored and it's not really being installed on the project yet. And that is skewing the numbers, and we're unable to bill for that. So that would be something you want to consider as well. And if that should really be a cost that gets put on the balance sheet and not into the project yet. If the prime or your customer is kicking back the billings, there could be a lack of supporting documentation. You could not be, there's certain billing requirements in your contract. Maybe you aren't following the specifications that they have, and they're kicking back those billings and not accepting them. So you want to get with the PM and make sure they understand the billing process. Every customer is different. Every GC is different. They have a different way of doing it. They have a different form. Maybe they have a different online platform that you have to use and run your billings through. So you really want to make sure that you understand that process for each customer, and that your PMs understand the process that they need to be taking. You may want to make sure that you are, if there's certain supporting documents that are required, that you're issuing that with the billing to make sure it doesn't get kicked back. And your change orders. If you're trying to bill for change orders that haven't been signed or approved, you want to make sure you're staying on top of that as well. So those could be some things that to look at if you are constantly seeing these underbilling numbers. So with that, we're going to go to our daily NLA, give you a little bit of action items here for you. Do you know what your underbilling number is? And then if you have some jobs that are overbilled and some jobs that are underbilled, you might just be looking at the net. But I really encourage you to look directly at that underbilling number and dive into which projects are showing up as underbilling, and watch that every month. Is that consistently happening? If you have financial reports that you're not seeing until the 31st or the following month, that's going to be a problem as well. Because if you can get a financial report by the 20th and you have billing deadlines that are the 25th, you're going to be able to see those WIP numbers. And you're going to be able to see from the previous month, was I underbilled? And before you submit those billings for the next month, you can adjust them accordingly. So you'd have a little bit more idea on where your underbillings are at and what jobs you should be really watching and paying attention to on that next month's billing. So again, going back, sorry, I got off on a little bit there. But going back to your daily NLA, your daily action item, I want you to really review those underbilled projects. And I want you to dive into those. Every single one that's showing up on your financial report you should have the financials for December now. So every one that you have showing up as underbilled for December, I want you to go through and understand why. Why did that come through as an underbilling? Talk to your PMs, talk to the accounting team, and how can you fix that going forward? So that's your action item. If you have any questions or if you need any help with this, if you guys aren't feeling confident in your numbers, confident in your WIP reports, not getting financials timely to make these decisions and see this information, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk to you and see if we can be of help in that area. So I hope you guys have a great day and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks.